I feel like everyone is talking about analog summer right now, and I think what people actually mean by that is just like nostalgic summer. A summer filled with agency over your time and attention. A summer doing stuff that you love doing and having fun. Having so much fun. And I think all of these book recommendations, regardless of if you read them on a phone screen or not, are going to give you exactly those feelings. So while Germany has not gotten the memo yet that it is in fact summer, and that is why we are inside on another rainy, gloomy day, I still want to give you these recommendations because maybe you're luckier than me and have been able to actually leave the house in a couple of days. So I have split these recommendations into 3 categories: early summer, peak summer, late summer. We're going to go through. Of course, you will find all titles and authors down in the description. Do not worry. You do not need to take out your notebook and write them all down. I got you. Early summer is about like almost more of the excitement for summer. It's like the planning for summer vacation, planning your meetings with friends, the oh my god, I can finally like go to work and it's bright outside in the morning. It is a time of excitement and of preparation and like anticipatory excitement. The first recommendation I want to give for this category is Well Met by Jen Deluca. This is a romance novel, and if this is not your first time on my channel, you'll know I am a romance genre hater. I am. I tried. I have tried so hard. Okay, this is the only good one. All the other ones, skip them. In this one, we follow Emily. Emily recently moved to her sister's small town because her sister had a car accident, and Emily is kind of helping her get back on her feet and taking care of her niece, you know. And on the other side, we have Simon, who works at the high school where Emily's niece attends. And he is the history teacher, but more importantly, during the summer, he organizes the town Renaissance fair. And through a series of unpredicted events by Emily, she ends up being the adult chaperone for her niece and kind of gets roped up in this planning of the Renaissance fair. The reason I think this book works so perfectly for early summer is because it takes place in early summer. I think it takes place from like May through August or something, but a lot of it is actually in the planning chunk. So when school's still in and when you have exactly this season of I'm excited for summer, we're getting ready for summer, we're planning for summer, we're preparing for summer. And this is a feeling that is so well encaptured in this book. And it's also about like new beginnings in general, which I think the beginning of the summer is also kind of like very symbolic for. That's kind of what the beginning of summer always feels like to me, like a new beginning. I think this is a fantastic book. I love these characters. I love this town so much. I've read all the novels that are out. There's a 5th one coming in September. Jen Deluca, if you're watching this or anyone on your team, I need an arc. I actually biblically need an arc for this book, okay? So if you're watching this, hit me up, because I promise nobody's going to give you a better review than me. Okay, anyways, moving on. The next one I want to recommend is A Room with a View by Ian Forster. In this one we follow Lucy. She's on vacation in Florence with her cousin Charlotte, and they are in an inn that doesn't have a view of the city. Or their room doesn't have a view of the city, which is very unfortunate. They're very sad about it. And then I think at dinner or something, they meet 2 gentlemen, a father and son, and those 2 offer to switch up rooms. So the 2 women can have a room with a view. And this like random act of kindness kind of spirals Lucy's very well planned upper middle class life out of control. This book is so stunning. I think Ian Forster wrote his novels and texts like specifically thinking, oh, in 100 years there's going to be a young woman that like will think this is funny. And he was so right about that. I think he wrote them for me. I think these books are specifically for me. I think this book works really well in the season because it is about, again, a new beginning and autonomy, but also breaking away from kind of the monotony of your everyday life. And it's really like Lucy starts to question so much of what she's taken for granted all her life. And it's also like it's set in Florence, it's summery, there's nature writing. The movie with Helena Bonham Carter, also really good, also a great summer watch, I think. Yeah, would highly recommend this one if you haven't read it yet. The next one is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, and not to be dramatic, this is my favorite book of all time. So, take this recommendation very lightly. You know, I don't know that you really need to. You need to. This is actually required reading if you want to like stick around on this channel. This is a fantastic novel. In my opinion, this is Virginia Woolf at her best. In this book, we follow the Ramsey family. They have a summer home and they want to take a trip to the lighthouse, except the whole trip takes like 10 years to actually happen. It's really mostly about like the people that are on vacation with them, that they welcome into their home, the time that passes and how that changes the house and the family. I can't really give you more than just telling you this is a great summer read. Unlike with the other ones, I don't really have like a specific reason why I think this one needs to be an early summer read. But I think if you pick this up right now, you would have a good time with it. And the last one in this category is The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. This, I hear, word on the street it's kind of a tradition for many Finnish people to read this in the beginning of summer. It is a like anthology, I want to say, of about a grandma and a granddaughter who go on a vacation on a remote island in Finland. Like they spend the whole summer there. The dad is there too, but he's not really important. He's just kind of there, you know. I read this at the end of last summer and I think, here's the thing. I'm a little bit of a summer hater. I am actually glad that we haven't had too many hot days yet this year. I'm terrified that so many people are saying this is going to be the hottest summer of the century. I'm terrified. I hate the summer. I get summer depression. I want this to end. I feel uncomfortable. I throw up a lot. I get sunburns. I'm not made for the season. But I think if I had read this book earlier, I would have felt a different appreciation for the season. And actually this year, I am determined to not hate the summer. I am so determined. I'm not going to hate summer 2026. It's going to be a grand old time. And I think part of how that perspective shift came to be was because of this book. Also, this is like very slow and meandering, like nothing really happens. So if you have like a weekend off maybe and you just want to sit in a park or by the pool and read a book, I think this one would be a great one. Also, if you do like a weekend camping trip, I really want to get into the tradition of doing like a camping trip at the beginning of the summer to kind of ring in the season. I feel like if you did something like that and like spend some time in nature, this would also be a perfect book for that. And that leads us into peak summer season. What does that mean? It means school's off, work's off, you're on vacation, you're hot, you're outside, you're having a grand old time, okay? And I again have 4 books for this season. The first one, I actually need you to read this one. Businessmen as Lovers by Rosemary Tonks. This book, nobody has read this book. It literally has like 60 reviews on Storygraph. I need you to pick this up, okay? In this book, this is from the 1960s, I want to say, we follow 2 friends, Mimi and Caroline, and they go on a vacation in Italy. They have like a bunch of other people there. They're kind of a big friend group of like people that meet in this vacation resort every summer. I think one of them has a husband who's also there. It's a lot of people. It's a big, colorful cast of characters. And it's really just about them being on vacation in Italy. It doesn't really follow a plot. They just kind of frolic about. They lay on the beach, they gossip about their husbands, and they get into some shenanigans. It is a peak summer book, in my opinion, because nothing happens, but everyone has a grand old time. And I think you should read this one. I also think this is really funny. If you like British literature and British humor, I think you would really enjoy this one. Obviously, if you plan a vacation to Italy this year, this should be on your reading list. This one is a little bit of a wild card, okay? I, as somebody who reads like mostly literary classics and mystery, this is a bit of a wild card, but stick with me. I'm gonna recommend Percy Jackson, wherever you're up to. If you've never read them ever, read Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. If you read the original 5 books, go ahead, read Heroes of Olympus, whatever, they all fit. The original series, the first 5 books, I think are fantastic summer reads because they all take place during summer vacation. If you don't know, the books all are set in the summer. You always have a very narrow time window in each book and a lot of time passes between them. So you really have you have summer camp vibes, you have adventures far away from parents, you have a lot of like, you have a quest, you have friendship, you have love. It is so fun to read these books, and I think these also work great for peak summer because there's so many of them. If you go on summer vacation and you want to read a book a day, there's probably like 15 books in this series at this point. You are gonna be fine. And if you have never read the Percy Jackson books and have always been kind of curious, I just think they're so great to read in the summer. They're also very quick, obviously, and I just think Rick Riordan created such a rich and beautiful world, and I don't think you would ever be too old for it. Oh, maybe I should tell you what that is about, huh? So in Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, we follow a kid called Percy Jackson, and he learns that he is the son of Poseidon. And we also learn that Zeus's lightning was stolen, and that he is accusing Percy of having done so. And he's gonna wreak havoc on humanity and Percy personally in order to get it back. Yeah, and then Percy's quest is to just find the lightning and find the lightning thief. Hence the title, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. It's just so fun. If you've never read these books, I think you should. You would have a grand old time, okay? Next up, I want to recommend Casino Royale by Ian Fleming. I actually just read this book a couple of months ago, and I had a surprisingly good time. This book and the character of James Bond was a lot more complex than I had initially expected. James Bond essentially is given the mission to sweat out the chief who works, I think, in this scenario for the UdSSR, the Soviet Union, I think. Something like he's a spy and he's evil, and James Bond needs to poker away all of his money. Or something to that effect, okay? This takes place during the summer in the south of France. So already, setting-wise, great summer read. This is also just very quick, quite mindless, like quite a popcorn read, I would say. But as I said, surprisingly morally complex. Like the character of James Bond has quite a few moments where he like really questions what he's doing and the purpose of his work, and if what he's doing is actually doing any good to anyone. The writing itself is also very good, very atmospheric, and I just think like this is a hot, sticky read, and peak summer is often hot and sticky, you know what I mean? Then we have another book that I actually just read this year, and that is like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. This is a magical realism novel in which we follow the De la Garza family that is brought to the brink of destruction by generational trauma and their evil mother. The mother is not portrayed as entirely evil, but I think she kind of was. Okay, this is my channel. I can say whatever I want. I thought the mother was an evil person a lot of the time. This is a novel told in vignettes, but specifically told in recipe. Every chapter starts with a recipe and then kind of out through the instructions spirals into when the family ate this meal, who prepared this meal, what happened, why was this meal significant, etc. And it was just so unique. It was unlike anything I had ever read before. This obviously takes place in Mexico. It takes place on a farm. So it's a very like summery book, and just summer is a bit, or like just warmth and sunshine and heat. They all play a big role in this. This is such a beautiful novel, and like in summer you would really have the time to appreciate how beautiful this novel is. So I think this would be a great one for peak summer. Also look at this cover. Doesn't this scream summer to you? Also it has like, there's a focal romance, there's food, there's intergenerational trauma, it's funny at points, it's magical. I really think this book is the whole package. And if you have not read it yet, and you need to put this on your TBR right now. Actually, I'll wait. I'll give you a second. Go ahead. You put it on? Okay, I'll go ahead then. Next up, I have People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I need to preface this by saying all of Emily Henry's books are great summer reads. This is just my personal favorite. One thing I actually find very interesting about Emily Henry is that she is such like a mixed bag for everyone. She has, I think, published like 6 or 7 romance novels at this point, and there's no like clear winner. I feel like everyone who's read a couple of her books has like a different favorite. So all of these might or might not work for you, but as I said, this is my personal favorite. In this one, we follow Poppy and Alex, such like book character names, right? Poppy and Alex have been going on summer vacations for I think like 10, 12 years. Every single year they spend a week together traveling, except I think 2 or 3 years ago something happened and they stopped. And now in the present timeline we follow them on like their last vacation where they want to like reconciliate their friendship, maybe, hopefully. But we also like jump back in time. It is a friends to lovers story. It is very hot and sticky. The vacation they're on is summer in LA because I think Alex's brother is getting married there or something. So it's hot, it's sticky, the AC isn't working. There's a lot of yearning and chemistry between these characters. I just thought this was so well written and I was just so attached to these characters and their emotions towards each other. I think if you have never read an Emily Henry book, this one would be my personal recommendation. And then we move into late summer. Everything at this point, everything's hot and sticky. All your clothes are ruined by sunscreen and you're kind of done. Okay, we're in the point of summer where everyone's like kind of, okay, maybe we could cool down a little bit. Maybe like my sunburns need to recover a little bit. Can we just calm down for a second? And the first one I'm going to recommend for this category is My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. I read this one last year. It's so funny. This is about a British family, I think in the 50s or 60s, and they move to Greece. This is a non-fiction. This is like a real biographical text by this author. He was 10 years old when they first moved to Greece, and it is about mostly his like love for nature. He just collects all sorts of bugs. He constantly brings home like wild animals. There's just animals everywhere, but it's also kind of an account of this quirky British family living in the middle of nowhere in Greece. This is by far one of the most charming books I have ever read in my entire life. It is so funny. The characters or like the family are all so distinct and comical without feeling like over the top or unrealistic. And it is so funny because like obviously Gerald Durrell wrote this as an adult, but it's from the perspective of his childhood self. So like the amount of self-reflection that is like subtly woven into the text, fantastic. This book is like, the reason I think this fits into this category is just because, I mean, first of all, it kind of reminds you what's great about summer and like why summer is so fun. But it's also just, it's so hot. They talk a lot about like not being able to go outside because it's too hot. But it's just such a lively book. And I feel like few parts of the year feel as quiet and settled as like the end of summer. And so if you need a little bit of life back in that moment, I think My Family and Other Animals would be the book for you. Next up, I have Wanting by Claire Jia. In this one, we follow Lian. She lives in Beijing. She has a great life. I think she has, I don't know if it's a boyfriend or fiance. There's a man. She's settled and she's happy. But then her childhood best friend Wenyu comes back to China with her American fiance, and they kind of plan to buy a house there. And Wenyu went to America when she was about 16, I think, and has found like a lot of success there. She has become an influencer. She's with this like hugely wealthy man who seemingly adores her. And it's her first time like really back in China since she left like over a decade ago at that point, I think. And it's just about these two like friends rekindling their friendship, but also dealing with all of the unsaid baggage. Lian had kind of had this dream of moving to the States herself, and it never came to fruition for one reason or another. And so she has a lot of like internalized jealousy of Wenyu, but then Wenyu is also like quite unhappy. And it is so interesting and so hot and so sticky. It's just a very heavy and slow book, kind of like the end of summer, which is why I think this would really work. It is a literary fiction and we follow a couple of other characters. So we have like multiple POVs of people that are all like somehow connected and that tell multiple stories of China and the US specifically. But it's really about this idea of what do we want out of life and how do we deal with not getting it. And this was so well written. This is a debut novel. I think if you like character studies and if you like slow books, this one's definitely one checking out. I also love that it takes place in contemporary China. I feel like novels with a contemporary China setting are so rare. If you have any recommendations, you know what to do. And I just think like maybe read from a place or perspective that you don't know that well. Okay, maybe you can do that. Okay, next up I have Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. In this one we follow Lillian. Lillian, she isn't exactly successful in life right now, okay? She's going through a rough patch. And she gets a call from an old school friend. They went to boarding school together, and her friend needs a nanny for her stepkids. Her husband brought 2 children into the marriage, and they have problems, let's just say. And Lillian's like, you know what? There are worse things than living in a mansion and playing with children. And she might be correct on that one. And so she decides, okay, I'm going to do this. She moves into the house, and it turns out the problem that these children are having is that they burst into flames, like literally catch on fire randomly. And it's a very strange book. It takes place during the summer in the South. So again, we have this kind of pressing heat that is ever present and this high humidity that is really like pressing and encompassing the characters. We also have like just this theme of standing still. Lillian feels like she's not done anything with her life. She's not getting anywhere with her life. And again, a lot of complex, not a lot, but Lillian and her friend, their relationships and their character are really complex. And I think it's such an interesting examination. I think considering that Kevin Wilson, presumably, I assume, is not a woman, I think he handled the female characters really, really well in this scenario, and I would highly recommend you check this one out if you haven't already. Okay, people, we have done it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have any summer recommendations. I would love to hear them, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!